Hi. I'm continuing in the research that David and I did, the historical record of false prophecies. This is under the reign of, or the presidency of Rutherford. So we're going to read several things from a booklet. I don't know if you've seen this one before. I think we've used it before. Millions Now Living Will Never Die. We'll also be looking at things from the Harp of God and Deliverance. These are books. And it's not the finish of Rutherford's quotes from Rutherford, but we'll start with these. So page 88 of the Millions booklet says, 70 jubilees of 50 years each will be a total of 3,500 years. That period of time, beginning 1575 before AD 1, of necessity, would end in the fall of the year 1925, at which time the type ends and the great antitype must begin. What then shall we expect to take place? In the type there must be a full restoration. Therefore the great antitype must mark the beginning of restoration of all things. The chief thing to be restored is the human race of life. And since other scriptures definitely fix the fact that there will be a resurrection of Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, and other faithful ones of old, and that these will have the first favor, we may expect 1925 to witness the return of these faithful men of Israel from the condition of death, being resurrected and fully restored to perfect humanity, and made the visible legal representatives of the new order of things on earth. On the page beside that, page 89, under earthly rulers, they have the great Jubilee cycle is due to begin in 1925. At that time, the earthly phase of the kingdom shall be recognized. The Apostle Paul, in the 11th chapter of Hebrews, named a long list of faithful men who died before the crucifixion of the Lord and before the beginning of the selection of the church. These can never be part of the heavenly class. They have no heavenly hopes, but God has in store something good for them. They are to be resurrected as perfect men and constitute the princes or rulers in the earth, according to his promise. Therefore, we may confidently expect that 1925 will mark the return of Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, and the faithful prophets of old, particularly those named by the apostle in Hebrews chapter 11, to the condition of human perfection. On page 97, they state, again he said, Whosoever liveth and believeth in me shall never die. Do we believe the Master's statement? If so, then the time comes for the world to know, then they who believe and, of course, render themselves in obedience to the terms have the absolute and positive statement of Jesus that they shall never die. Based upon the argument heretofore set forth, then that the old order of things, the old world, is ending and is therefore passing away, and that the new order is coming in, and that 1925 shall mark the resurrection of the faithful worthies of old, and the beginning of reconstruction. It is reasonable to conclude that millions of people now on earth will be still on the earth in 1925. then based upon the promises set forth in the divine word, we must reach the positive and indisputable conclusion that millions now living will never die. Of course, it does not mean that everyone will live, for some will refuse to obey the divine law. But those who have been evil and turn again to righteousness and obey righteousness shall live and not die. Okay. So, those were the quotes from the Millions booklet. Now we'll look at quotes from the Harp of God. The Harp of God, and some of the books they actually have on the cover it saying as a kind of subtitle, proof conclusive that millions now living will never die. So they're going with what we saw in the Millions book. So this is 1921 edition. Let's see. The first quote is on page 250. Wait, let's look. Yes, 250. They say, suppose we admit, for the sake of the argument, that no man knows the day nor the hour of the Lord's appearing. What difference does that make? The hour and the day have already passed. He is here. And let all truly consecrated Christians rejoice. But of the times and the seasons, brethren, ye have no need that I write unto you, says St. Paul. The times and the seasons are clearly established by the overwhelming proof that the Lord is now present. Therefore, ye brethren, are not in darkness. Ye are all the children of light and the children of the day. We are not of the night, nor of darkness. Why quibble now about dates, days, or hours? The physical facts, the fulfilled prophecy and the prophecy further in course of fulfillment, prove overwhelmingly and beyond the shadow of a doubt that the Lord is present, and that the world has ended, and that the kingdom of heaven is at hand. Wow. Okay. So now page 340. They say, therefore, it is reasonable to expect them back on the earth at the beginning of the restoration blessing. Hence, the faithful men may be expected on earth within the next few years. They will constitute the legal representative of Christ in the earth. They will be the visible representatives of the kingdom of heaven. These are the ones who shall administer the affairs of earth under the direction of the Lord. That was page 340. Now we're going to read some quotes from Watchtowers. When I can, I'll try and have a physical copy for you to see. That's easier with books than it is with Watchtowers. This one is September 1st, 1922. Watchtower. The date 1925 is even more distinctly indicated by the scriptures because it is fixed by the law God gave to Israel. Viewing the present situation in Europe, one wonders how it will be possible to hold back the explosion much longer, and that even before 1925, the great crisis will be reached and probably passed. Now we're in April 1st, 1923. There was never at any time any intimation to the Pilgrim Brethren that they should cease talking about 1925. Our thought is that 1925 is definitely settled by the Scriptures, marking the end of the typical Jubilees. Just exactly what will happen at that time no one can tell to a certainty, but we expect such a climax in the affairs of the world that the people will begin to realize the presence of the Lord and his kingdom power. As Noah, the Christian now has much more upon which to base his faith than Noah had, so far as the Scriptures reveal, upon which to bear his faith in a coming deluge. Then there's a quote from 1922, Watchtower, November 1st. Bible prophecy shows that the Lord was due to appear for the second time in the year 1874. Fulfilled prophecy shows beyond a doubt that he did appear in 1874. Fulfilled prophecy is otherwise designated the physical facts. These facts are indisputable. All true watchers are familiar with these facts, and that as set forth in the Scriptures and explained in the interpretation by the Lord's special servant. And the last quote is from the Deliverance book. This one that I'll read today is page 219. The Deliverance book was 1926 published. Okay, page 219. We were using a typewriter, and it's not the greatest print. All right, so this is. We present. Well, let me just make sure. Okay. When the Lord presented to them the clear and indisputable proof that the old world has ended and that his kingdom is at hand, they have scoffed at the rejected testimony and have persecuted, arrested, and caused the imprisonment of the witnesses of the Lord. This whole section is about the clergy. This is what he charges the clergy of not admitting to the clear and indisputable proof that they are presenting in their publications, some of which you heard just now. We have to recall what Matthew 24 said. We read it in the previous video. Then Matthew 24, 23 to 27. Then if anyone says to you, look, here is the Christ, or there, do not believe it. For false Christs and false prophets will arise and will give great signs and wonders so as to mislead, if possible, even the chosen ones. Look, I have forewarned you. Therefore, if people say to you, look, he is in the wilderness, do not go out. Look, he is in the inner chambers, do not believe it. For just as the lightning comes of the eastern parts and shines over the western parts, so the presence of the Son of Man will be. Don't get bullied. And the clergy didn't get bullied into submitting to these ideas of Rutherford's. I'm going to link to a playlist. It's Edmund Gruss, We Left JW's, a non-profit organization. Well, it's probably a video, but I'll also link the playlist as well. Thanks.